Let me tell you about the third day of Sean Diddy Combs' hearing. Again, Cassie Ventura, the prosecution's star witness, was on the stand, and her evidence was awful. CNN footage seems to show the music mogul hitting his girlfriend at the time, Cassie Ventura, at a hotel in 2016. Combs hit and kicked Ventura as she tried to leave, which can be seen on the video. The video is right in front of me. She was very well prepared, oozed unwavering confidence, and was ready to tell a story that would make everyone in the room feel sick. Cassie did more than just testify. The court was pulled into the depths of her own hell. She stayed Diddy's girlfriend. It wasn't just about the horrible violence shown on that 2016 hotel film. Everyone already knew she wasn't who she said she was as she peeled back layers of strange games and hidden parties. They are so evil that it's hard to imagine. Then came the names of the people who were reportedly forced to take drugs and watch the film. Name coming out in the open like a dam breaking. The courtroom held its breath as each new detail hit harder than the last. Just a few feet away sat the man who built the bad boy record empire and was once praised for having the head-bobbing touch of a king. But Sean Diddy Pump's face was anything but modern. It was filled with fear as Cassie's testimony hacked through his reputation. Think about the mogul who walked in with the confidence of a giant, but now he's frozen, and the terror in his eyes is growing. Based on the texts, recordings, and maybe even more that Cassie held up as proof, these claims could put him in jail for life, and his kingdom would be reduced to ashes. Who was pushed into what? Who gave the drugs? And who filmed those sick games? Listen to Cassie's own words. If you thought this story was just a publicity stunt, is there important proof to put this music mogul in jail, or is there a bigger secret that needs to be revealed? Here's what Cassie said about this trial that could bring down a movie company. Not cut, not filtered. This video has it all. The big act then came on. When Diddy walked into the courtroom, he seemed almost cocky in his confidence. With a group of top lawyers who were paid millions to protect a company that was about to fall apart, he moved like he couldn't be touched. But that cockiness was bound to fall apart. As you looked across the room, you could see Cassie Ventura, whose real name is Cassandra Ventura. She had her hand on the bottom of a simple brown dress as she leaned back 8.5 months pregnant. She didn't have any heavy makeup on her face, but her eyes were filled with unwavering determination. Alex Fine, a fitness teacher, sat on the right side of the row behind her husband. His gaze was like a quiet beacon cutting through the darkness, giving her pure energy. This was no ordinary trial. At this point, a country had to face its fate. It had been going strong between Diddy and Cassie for more than 10 years, but in 2018 it started to slowly fade away. But the truths that had been hidden for years were about to be brought to light in a very public way. Diddy was sued by Cassie more than a year ago, saying that she was abused, controlled, and sexually exploited by him. The hip-hop mogul strongly rejected the claims. The legal case was over in just 24 hours, which was so fast that everyone in the business looked at it funny. That was not the end of the story though. These claims set off a chain of events that led to a government investigation. From a quiet civil claim to the biggest scandal in American entertainment in years, this case blew up. Cassie isn't here to sue today. She is here to swear under oath, in public. What did really happen when those doors were shut? How could a relationship turn into the living hell that Cassie describes? That's the question that keeps coming back to mind. How could a woman put up with such horrors for 10 years? It's not just about Cassie and Diddy. That is a story about power, control, murder, and how an entire society stays quiet while these things happen. A society that used to worship the flash and glam, and wasn't aware of the darkness that was hiding below. Cassie has given up everything. Her privacy, her safety, and even a part of her last trimester to have a child with someone else. All of this so she could stand in the middle of a media storm and remember the worst times of her life. Discover the shocking facts of Cassie's second day of evidence, and find out why this isn't just a test. It reveals the monster that was once thought to be the famous singer Diddy. Outside of court, at 10:12 a.m., the name Cassie Ventura, whose full name is Cassandra Ventura, rang out. Two witnesses had the stand before her, putting together the first somber pieces of a puzzle that would amaze everyone. Cassie, who was almost 9 months pregnant, stood up as a witness. Her body was shaking, but her eyes were fiercely focused, like a fighter ready to face the ghosts of her past. That's how quiet it was in the courtroom. Not a word, not a stray sound. Everyone seemed to hold their breath, waiting for her to tell the truth. Everyone was paying close attention to this movie, and leaning in. In that courtroom, you can hardly hear a thing. Before getting into the heartbreaking details, the jury asked Cassie some soft questions, as if to calm her down. How old are you? 38. What do you do? A musician and performer. How long did you spend with Sean? 10 years. 10 years. 10 years. Of living in hell. Cassie, who was 19 at the time, and had big goals, signed with Diddy's Bad Boy Records company in 2006. Step would take her into the hands of a monster, she had no idea. Diddy's love wasn't a feeling, it was an unseen chain that suffocated her soul and took away her pride. Cassie tore through the glittering mask of the music world to reveal a terrible truth in a speech that chilled the courtroom. People saw Diddy as the king of music, the brains behind bad boy songs, the person who made artists famous, and the person who spread his power into fashion and media. Cassie showed that he was a monster behind closed doors, violent, controlling, and completely cruel. Her words showed that Sean Combs planned everything, from what she wore to the lights in the room, to how she should talk to the person she was having sex with. He seemed to have a tight grip on Cassie's life, telling her what to wear, how to talk to other people, especially in the bedroom, and at those shady get-togethers. He even told her what color her nails should be, and how to cut her hair. She had to go through things she didn't want to. Although she didn't want it, Diddy got sick pleasure from seeing her with other men. She did it because she was too young, too innocent, and eager to please the powerful man who ran her career with an iron fist. Certainly wasn't something I wanted to do very often. Cassie was pulled into the dark world of freak-offs, which are depraved events that last 36 to 96 hours, sometimes 4 days straight. This happened just 6 months after she met Diddy. These weren't one-time treats. They happened every week in fancy hotels, like the Mandarin Oriental or the Intercontinental Trump Gramercy, under fake names like Jackie Starr or Frank Black, to hide their dark identities. As Cassie talked, the judge had to stop the lawyer from asking her because the hotel rooms were so dirty with blood, urine, and baby oil. She had to use Craigslist or Backpage to find escorts, guys like Clayton Howard or The Punisher, and act with them in crazy situations that Diddy wrote. He was in charge of everything, from the flickering of the Glade candles to the exact temperature of the room, and Johnson's baby oil for a shiny look, a grease for Astroglide. I had to call the front desk and tip them if we ran out. She told the story in a flat voice, as if she were reliving a nightmare. Couldn't get away. Cassie told how Diddy forced her to take drugs like Molly, ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, Special K, and mushrooms to stay awake during those long days. She said, "I threw up from ecstasy and MDA. GHB made my heart beat fast. It was awful." Diddy would sometimes watch her through FaceTime, using her as a toy in his weird game. She told him, "I felt disgusted. I have too much in my mouth," was choked. Candle wax was poured on her skin one time. It wasn't what I wanted, it was hers. She held her pregnant belly in her hands as if to protect the baby from the terrible things that happened to her in the past. It all came to a head one night in Las Vegas in 2010. Cassie lay on the hotel floor, high on drugs. The dim lights gave her a creepy look. 2 bodyguards, Diddy and another, stood over her and peed on her face. I was throwing up. Her voice broke as she cried. I felt dirty and no good, but if I said no, he would beat me. The courtroom was dead quiet, and even senior reporters were stunned by the horrible truth. Cassie said she looked at him once. "Do you want to stop?" "Yes." I felt ashamed. I didn't have those words back then. I couldn't tell anyone about it. "Did you say you didn't want to?" "Yes." "Why did you think you couldn't say no?" After he told me this about himself, I didn't want to make him mad or upset. Fear stayed with her all the time. The freak-off movies were made by Diddy, who used them as a threat to keep Cassie in chains. In a 2010 email that was shown in court, she begged Diddy to stop, but he replied with a scary threat. It was him who put the videos online. I got rid of them from my devices, she said, sounding very angry. They were disgusting. But she was always afraid, because she didn't know if Diddy still had those damaging files. Cassie also said that he made threats against her family and said he would hurt them if she spoke out. It was even worse than physical abuse and power. Violence was always around Cassie for 10 long years. Cassie's voice was shaking as she talked about a nightmarishly violent nightmare that broke her. She said she was smashed in the head, dragged across floors, kicked, stomped, thrown against walls, pushed downstairs, and choked, until the world went black. Each blow did more than hurt her body, it left scars on her soul that would never heal. But one image stood out from the rest. Cassie said she would always remember her scary dream from the Four Seasons Hotel in 2012. It all began pleasantly enough, a party for people in the business that was packed with music and power. Then Diddy's anger grew. Why? Because Cassie was brave enough to talk to another music rep. That famous smile on the red carpet was gone, and a snarl took its place. He pulled on her arm so hard that it left marks. He hissed threats in her ear while showing off his charm to the crowd. Think about it, a man who walked into every room and grabbed her and dragged her through the hotel hallway like she was his property. The noise of money and fame drowning out her cries. Hotel security came up to me. When they see Diddy, their eyes get really big. Is everything okay? One of them asked the mogul for a nod, and then they disappeared, leaving Cassie in his grip by herself. She wasn't asked if she was okay. In the room up high, there was no face left. A champagne bottle hit the wall and broke as it flew by her head. For more than 48 hours, he was so angry that he broke lamps, tables, and flipped the room over. She was locked up. Her phone took away her freedom and made threats that kept going off in her head. If she was brave enough to ask for help, that night, I thought I was going to die. She spoke softly. Everyone in the courtroom leaned forward to hear every word, because her speech was so soft. The next morning, she took pictures of herself in the dim light of a bathroom mirror. Her arms were covered in bruises, she had a split lip, and her neck was red from being hit. She broke the quiet with, "I took them because I was afraid no one would believe me." Then the 2016 security video was shown to everyone. Video that was not very clear showed Diddy pulling Cassie down a hotel hallway. Cassie's body was limp, and her fight was ending. It was clear that the lawyer was mad. "Where is this?" Cassie from across the ocean answered, and her voice was steady now. "That night I tried to get away. I reached for the room phone, he tore it off and took my bag and everything else." The jury was shocked by the photos she took afterward, which showed bruises and a torn lip. The pictures were raw and desperate. One female judge put her hand over her mouth to keep from gasping. 2 male jurors turned away because they couldn't look at the truth that was showing on the screens in the courtroom. "I took them since I thought no one would believe me." At that moment, Cassie said her words again and again, a quiet but unwavering accusation. When she told him the truth, the invincible king of music looked small, and his kingdom fell apart. Cassie did more than just tell her story in court. She brought with her a huge amount of proof that she had carefully gathered in secret over years. It included text messages, emails, photos, and audio recordings, all of which were aimed at Diddy's carefully built empire. In one word, he said sorry for beating people badly and also seemed dangerous, calling for the end of her career in the next. In one message, he made her an unbelievable $2 million offer for a clean break, an offer to forget about the past and keep her quiet. The real shock, though, came in the form of messages from A-list celebrities, including a platinum-selling rapper, a popular pop star, and a veteran producer, all of whom were horrified by what they had seen. Diddy had said in public that no one had ever seen him do anything wrong, but their words showed the world something that no one had seen before. The prosecution didn't hold back when they read out loud Diddy's terrifying threats, including his demands that Cassie hire other women, and the fact that hidden cameras would record it all. Photos of her injuries, backed up by friends, flashed on the screens, with each bruise being a silent scream. Hospital records under a false name and flight logs linking Diddy to the notorious freak-off parties with hired escorts woven a damning web. Cassie's voice broke as she talked about flipping through a notebook with a grim list of the escorts Diddy used and how he forced her into encounters she didn't want. She said, "I felt like an object, something for him to use," as tears poured out of her eyes. Cassie stopped in the middle of the horror. Her eyes were lost in the empty space. She told the judge that she had loved Diddy with all her heart, which stopped the whole world in its tracks. She whispered, "He was my everything." Her voice was shaking. "Those weirdos. Those were the only times I had him all to myself. The only times I felt like I had a connection with him." Her words were heavy, a punch in the gut that no one saw coming. Who would have thought it? During a terrible dream, Cassie clung to love and gave up everything for short moments of warmth from the man she loved. But that love locked her up. She said Diddy twisted her mind and killed her singing dreams by making her into a doll. "I stopped feeling like a person." She cried as she remembered the times she did what he said, like using drugs and putting up with freak shows, all to stay out of his anger. "I thought he'd help my job when I was a young girl." Her voice was raw from pain, as she choked out. The jury was stunned, and their eyes lit up as the weight of her words changed the story of a mogul's life. This wasn't just evidence, it was the disproving of a myth, and Diddy could only watch as his cap of freedom was taken away. At the defendant's table, Diddy sat still with his hands on a water glass and his face like a stone mask. The swagger he walked in with that morning was gone within 30 minutes of Cassie's powerful story. He messed with his tie and cufflinks, making hasty notes and speaking to his lawyers. But most of the time he had his eyes on Cassie and gave her a piercing look that seemed to burn through her. Cassie never looked into his eyes. It was like he was a ghost she didn't want to face. But when she showed him her collection of texts, emails, apologies from Diddy for being violent, and threats to ruin her career, he was shocked. Those lies had been kept from him for years, he didn't know. His close friends, business partners, and famous people in his circle of influence all agreed that they had seen his dark side at private events. One was from Dallas Austin, a director and friend Cassie trusted who begged her to stay safe. These, along with pictures of her injuries and hospital records that were made under a fake name, showed a Diddy that no one knew. Cassie went on to name Diddy's loyal bodyguards, security drivers, a past chief of staff, and a financial handler, as well as what parts they played in his web of control. Diddy couldn't keep still as 7 pictures of these people showed on the prosecutor's screen. He jumped to his feet and yelled, "This is a lie," in a fit of rage. "I feel like she wants to hurt me." His lawyer jumped in and yanked him back to his seat, but Diddy kept yelling about being lied to. The courtroom was a mess because police had to lead him out. Behind him his daughters, who were sitting near the defense, ran away in tears because they couldn't handle what they were hearing. Diddy's lawyers, led by the sassy Tenny Garagos, fought to take back power. They said the 2016 video showed jealousy, not sex trafficking, and that Cassie was greedy and ready to take part in Diddy's lavish lifestyle, which is why she got the $20 million legal settlement. They criticized her drug use, called her memory into question, and pointed out that there were problems with the dates. When they put a former helper of Cassie's on the stand, the authorities showed that the witnesses were getting paid by Diddy. Cassie said that drugs and sex were big parts of their relationship, but she stuck to her claims of abuse and rape, including one in 2018. She sent a text that seemed to be about Diddy, but she said, "I sent it because I was afraid of what he would do." "What did you do when Garagos asked you to leave?" The room went silent when Cassie answered, "Because he said my mother would disappear." Garagos stopped moving, and the other jurors looked at each other as the weight of what she said hit them. Outside, the internet went crazy. 2 million people shared a post by Alex Fine that called Cassie the greatest woman ever. The PR team for Diddy hit back, calling Cassie a liar. The people who used to be close to him started to leave him in court though. As pictures, videos, and texts of proof piled up, they quietly left, leaving Diddy and his lawyers facing a flood of truth. The man who had once ruled a kingdom now looked like a king who had been dethroned. Every word Cassie said to him shattered his reputation. Cassie's story went on for more than 4 long hard hours. She took breaks to allow her pregnancy to wear her down. She had tears running down her face as she talked about the freak-offs and the love she once had for Diddy, whom she called Pop Pop, and who called her CC. She said, "I did it to make him happy," and her voice broke because she was so sad. She thought about the stuck, helpless girl she was when she was younger, when she was almost 40. She said, "I thought I'd never get away, but today I'm done keeping quiet." The attorneys hammered home the clear mismatch of power. Cassie, a 19-year-old singer-to-be, was put up against Diddy, was a 37-year-old titan who controlled her job and money. They showed proof of Diddy's close friends, bodyguards and HR chiefs who helped him tighten his grip on things. Cassie looked at pictures of the guards and said, "If I didn't answer his call right away, someone would show up." Her voice was shaking as she spoke. The prosecution's case made it clear that this wasn't just domestic violence but a criminal business. At its heart was Diddy, who used his fame and power to set up a 20-year web of abuse. Cassie got off the witness stand with the help of her husband Alex. Her eyes were tired but not scared. The naive 19-year-old who had come into Diddy's life was gone. She is now married, giving birth to her 3rd child, and living a quiet life with Alex. He often posts about how much he loves her on Instagram. He once wrote, "She's the best mother ever," and now in court, he was her rock, always by her side. Cassie in 2025 is not at all like Cassie in 2006. One young R&B star said that Cara and Rihanna looked a lot alike. Ryan Leslie recorded her first CD which made it into the top 20. After that, nothing. She said in court that she kept waiting, but the freak-offs held her job hostage. Bad Boy Records gave Cassie a 10-record deal, but she only put out 1 album. She then disappeared from the public eye, only to appear quickly on red carpets or in a Nicki Minaj song 6 years later. Outside of court, social media went crazy, and terms like Cassie Speaks and Diddy Trial became popular all over the world. Artists like Kalani wanted the music business to be held responsible, and rumors spread that other artists, like Meek Mill, were involved with the fake music videos, but no solid proof has come forward yet. But Cassie was the center of attention in the courtroom. Alex's eyes never left her. They were like a lighthouse cutting through the darkness of her past and leading her through the storm of memories. It's very important to learn from the story of Cassie and Diddy. Not every relationship that looks great on the outside is really love. It's not love when power is used to rule and smother someone else. It turns into oppression. For herself and the thousands of other victims who are still trapped, Cassie had the guts to come out of the dark and tell the truth. It's hard to stop the wheels of justice once they start moving. When day 2 of the trial was over, the man who walked into the courtroom as music's unbeatable king looked like a leader who had lost. Even though his security team used to be a wall around him, they weren't able to protect him from the storm in that courtroom. The statements, the recordings, and the proof all painted a picture that could not be erased. Now the question isn't whether Diddy can win this case, but whether the things that were told in court today will ever heal his image.